You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
LA Street Angel.
Hello and welcome to the Street Angel Show here in the heart of Hollywood at tradiov.com. So today we're going to be talking about epic healers. And so I've got two amazing people who've been a pretty significant part of my healing journey and spiritual enlightenment. And I'm so excited to have them. But first, let me introduce myself in case you're joining us for the very first time on the show today. My name is Mandolyn Reese, also known as Mandy, and I'm known as the Street Angel or the LA Street Angel, and I wear wings and I go out with various positive messages, trying to get people reconnected, nice and kind and considerate of each other, that kind of stuff. So that's me. I run around like Where's Waldo in crowds and sport wings. And so this show is devoted to helping others with positive advice and uplifting stuff to help you get more just at peace and on your own journey and stuff like that. So let me introduce my guests for today. To my left, I have my good friend Justin Elledge, and he is known as the Human MRI. He's a medical intuitive. He can scan your body, whether in person or over the phone, and he can see the things that you have medical issues or energy blocks that you might have, all sorts of cool stuff we'll get into. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm doing very well and so happy to be here.
Okay. Is his mic on? Maybe talk closer.
How is that? Can
Yay.
you hear me now?
Now I can. I think I can hear you. Okay, so tell me, what do you do?
Well, the long and the short of it was I didn't always have this ability. Even though I trained classically as a nurse over 23 years ago, I know a lot about human anatomy and physiology. In my own personal life, I've had a lot of health challenges over the years and injuries and things that I've had to overcome. So I've had kind of a hands-on experience of getting well. About 11 years ago, I had this experience where a friend of mine was laying on the ground at up in a mountain cabin, and he was in pain. And the guy, just before working on him, had been doing this twists and everything like they would for chiropractor moves to help his neck and shoulders. I thought, okay. So I leaned down to kind of just help him with the pain and do some energy work. As I kneeled down over him, I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden I saw this image of a broken rib in his chest. And I kind of go, where exactly are you feeling the pain? Because I hadn't touched him yet. And he says, oh, right here. And I said, you, my friend, have a broken rib. It was just so clear and so perfect in my mind's eye that I knew that what was wrong with him. And so what they had just been doing could have been quite harmful, could have actually punctured a lung. So since that moment of Easter weekend 2005, I've been given this second sight to see what's going on inside of people physically.
It just came to you like that was your first experience.
That was what just
Wow.
popped in. Over the years, it's manifested in many different ways to see other issues that are affecting people, also going back through lifetimes, which is always so interesting. One of my first clients back in 2006 was a little boy from South Africa, and he had stopped growing at the age of 5. Other than that, everything was fine, but he just stopped growing. His parents had taken him to DNA specialists. They'd taken him all over South Africa and parts of Europe trying to find an answer why this young boy had stopped growing. So they tried everything, and then they called me, and so having this phone call from South Africa, and they explained the situation, and I got quiet, and I listened, and the image that came up was that they were the Dutch Afrikaners who had come into South Africa, and they were the ones who technically invaded that part of the world, and they had had a curse placed to the 7th generation across the entire country to all white Afrikaners that had been cursed. And so this little boy was now the 7th generation since this had occurred. So I was expressing this to the mom, and I said, so you need to get some local plants that are similar to aloe vera. Now, I didn't know what the plant was, but I was describing it to her, and she understood what I was seeing. And then I said, you also need to take him to the local shaman to have the curse removed. And so this was out there even for me, because I was more of the typical medical model. This is what needs to be done, and this needs to be done. So
But that's what you were seeing.
that's what I was being shown. I saw this image in my mind's eye of the witch doctor with the spear and the shield and the face paint. And once I expressed this, it was kind of like, you got it. And so the parents,
That's something common over there
yes.
in that culture. Wow.
Well, and so they then took that child to the local shaman and had the curse removed. And sure enough, I heard a few months later the boys started growing again.
So curses are real.
Very much so.
That's so weird. Okay, so hold that and let me introduce Karen. How are you? This is Karen Fogarty.
Hello.
And she had a school that I went to for a long time when I first moved to Los Angeles, 2012, 2013, called See You Inside, which I actually mentioned in my very first interview I ever did at T Radio V in 2013 with Paris and LA's show. And I was talking about Karen's school and how much it helped me. So hi, Karen.
Hi, Madeline.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
You're
I'm excited,
welcome.
And I'm very excited that I've had the opportunity to meet Justin already, too.
I could tell y'all hit it off.
Mhm.
I knew like y'all are very big energy workers and healers, and like attracts like, and so we all have been working kind of together but separately. Like I've always stayed in touch with you two and gone to your classes and meditations, and so it's really cool to bring you together and meet each other, and then we can all kind of talk about this really epic stuff.
And thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Indeed,
So
thank you so much.
I wanted to share my stories of how I met these people because they're epic for my life and just cool to share with others. I first met Justin at one of my first big events when I was just coming out as the LA Street Angel. I hadn't even named myself the Street Angel yet. I was that new, but I got invited to this event called the No Fest. And so I go to this event, I'm wearing my angel stuff. I had a busted foot at the time. I was really struggling with that, big time. So anyway, at one point I was starving to death, and I'm walking around trying to figure out what I was going to eat. And some guy brought me to this secret VIP back room that I had no idea was there. And sorry, I don't know what happened. But so then I get back there, and the first thing I see when I walk back there, obviously this huge buffet of beautiful steaming hot food, and I was like, oh. But then in front of me, I see the back of this, Buddhist robe, tall. How tall are you?
6'6".
6'6". I see this tall robed guy. And he turns and he faces me, and we made eye contact, and I was just like, he's so epic when you see him in person. I was like, what? I had no idea what he was doing. I had no idea what he was. But we were drawn to each other, and we just kind of, face to face. And I don't know why, but he touched my elbow. He just very casually, touched my elbow. And I swear to God, I downloaded what I can only describe as the Holy Spirit, washed over me. And I busted out crying, uncontrollably. It was just tears, and I was like, whoa, what was that? And I was like, who are you? Teach me. I want to know what you do, how you do it. And so roundabout, we became, really good friends, and he's shown me his Buddhist temple that he's learned a lot of his healing work in. And so that's Justin. Do you have any comment about the story? Or?
It was when I was there with the No Fest, along with another individual from the temple, Douglas Sutton, and we were doing energy healing on anyone that came in, and we were in the VIP lounge, so we were focusing on a lot of the talent, and we've been doing some very intense energy and healing work. Generally, when I'm doing that work, I don't touch people, and it's not because I can't, but it's the effect it can have other consequences. So
busting out crying
well,
in my case. It was a good cry, though.
Yeah, and for me it was as big a shock and surprise as I turn around, I see this beautiful angel, because I was just thinking, I felt so angelic and how wonderful it was, and it would be great to have a sign that I'm in the right place. And I turn around and I see this angel with wings standing there. It's like, well, son of a gun, how cool is that?
And I had my gigantic wings on,
yes.
like 3 feet out to the side
and you
of
were
me.
all in white and everything, and I was just like, well, how beautiful is this? And I wish I had my camera then. And there was just something about you, and it just felt like something was just, you needed something. And so it just, the most natural thing was you just reach over and just kind of, and I touch you on the shoulder or the elbow,
yeah.
and it's just like, and then that's when they were saying, like, kabang, and are you okay? And you were crying. It was like, oh my God, what did I do? And because, in a sense, I'd been all charged up with healing energy.
You were very highly charged. You could just feel your aura, your energy field was just very powerful. And so then that was when I realized there was the two of you, and you were doing healing work on people in this back room. And so it was just, epic. And I want to thank you for that experience and the fact that I can share this story with others, because I just want people to know that that kind of energy is real. You can feel that unconditional love from source, or the universe, or God, whatever you want to call it, like, can flow through people. Like, you are a channel for that. And you can learn how to do that and be a healing tool to others if that is your calling and your mission and something you want to do. And so with Karen, what happened was I had just moved to LA. I met you both about the same kind of time. I was going through all this crazy stuff, having just moved to LA. It was brand new, so just starting this major calling of the Angel Project. And this girl I had randomly met on the internet, she invited me to some sort of free healing class, or I didn't know what it was, free meditation. Like, I can't even remember what she said, but I was like, sure, why not? I needed new friends. I wanted something to do. I was in a really kind of low, dark, sad place with what I was going through at the time. So she takes me to this free event, and it was at Karen's school in her classes. And that started a very long journey for me, where I was going to so many of her classes. Almost weekly I was there. I was just getting all these certifications in healing, but more profoundly, that really helped me heal from my past. Like, I had, if you watched my last show or two, I had some trauma and, childhood abuse, and her classes really helped me address that within myself, deep within my core and in my chakras, clear up some blockages and help me find some self-worth, and just a lot of healing. And it blew open my mind too, like the experiences with the two of them. It just blew open my mind to the possibilities of spirituality and enlightenment. And it's hard to explain unless you're going through it yourself, but that's why I have this show, is so I can at least attempt to explain and expose people to this kind of stuff, so maybe they'll look into it for themselves and also experience healing and improvement and empowerment. So let's talk about your school a little bit and what you do and what you offer. I mean, we're going to go into it a little more, but if you want to give a brief overview at the moment.
Well, first I wanted to give a little background as to what I do and why I do it.
Okay.
And I grew up very sensitive, like a lot of people do. But as a child, I started becoming aware that I was hearing things that other people weren't hearing. So my first spiritual ability that I really was consciously aware of was the ability called clairaudience, the ability to hear clearly. And I didn't really know how to interpret that as a child.
Was it, do you think, ghosts or spiritual entities or angels? Any idea?
All kinds of
Just
noise.
other things.
Mhm,
Okay.
all kinds of noise. As I got older, it started moving into hearing electricity through wires, and noise in telephone lines, and hearing people with songs that are looping in their head. And so
You could hear that.
Mhm.
Almost like hear their thoughts?
that's exactly what I do now.
Wow.
So there was this period in my life where I started going deaf. And for about 20 years, my hearing declined to a point where I almost couldn't hear anything. And there were a couple of years in that time period where I lived a lot in silence. And during those years, I really dug down and started really developing my clairaudience to a level of expertise where now I can listen to people's subconscious thoughts. And so I do a lot of energy work with my private clients in listening to their subconscious thoughts and ones that don't work well for them, and helping them remove them and allowing them to replace those subconscious thoughts with something that works in alignment with them.
Wow. Okay. We're going to go to commercial soon, but we still have 3 more segments, so I want you to hang in there, because we're really going to get more in depth into each one of these people, and they're going to tell a lot more of their personal stories and their services that they offer, and they can also help you. And something I wanted to clarify is, when we say the words like Buddhist or, spirituality, that kind of stuff, we're not talking about like any kind of religion per se. It's just different modalities that you can look into to explore your spiritual self as a soul, because your mind, body, and spirit, there's a lot to you as an individual, And so looking more into the spiritual and soul side of things can really help you get more in alignment with your mind and your body, and you can have a lot more healing on all levels and just really operate at a higher level with yourself, you know. So how are we doing on time? Okay, we're going to go to commercial really quick, and when we come back, we're going to talk more with Justin, more in depth about what he does, and I'm really excited. So stay with us on the Street Angels Show here at T Radio V.
Wipe away the dust with your secret ways.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Everything holding up your side for the world to see.
All right, and we are back to the Street Angels Show in Hollywood, and today we're talking about epic healers and healing work and healing yourself. And one of my awesome cool guests today is Justin Elledge. He's a longtime friend of mine, and he does really high level stuff and medical intuitive scans. And so welcome and thanks for being here, and we want to hear more about what you do.
Oh, well, where to begin? Again, in the beginning, when I first was given this gift, I wanted to, Karen actually brought something up to remind me when I was about 5 years old. It was time to go to bed, and as the lights went out in my bedroom, all of a sudden I saw this red and black and yellow things moving across the wall, and totally freaked me out. I thought it was like 5,000 snakes writhing on the floor of the jungle.
Whoa.
And I just didn't know what that was. And so I screamed, and my dad came in, he turned the light on and said, everything's fine. He turned the light off, and I could see this again. And what I realized all these years later is that it was my first experience of seeing energy. But in, Western typical family home, it's not something you talk about or comes up in a conversation. And my dad was in the military, and it was just not in his purview, an area of understanding, and, where do you even start when you're 5 years old?
Yeah, and if you don't know what it is, it's kind of scary to bring it up, right, and talk about it. So
Indeed. So I just completely suppressed it for years and years and years. So when many years later that this second sight showed up for me, it was as much of a surprise as anything else. And I really didn't believe I was doing it. I actually had a friend of mine who kept calling. She had clients. I told her about the experience of what had happened. She said, oh, that's great. And so she would call me at work at that time, and I was working in a industrial setting with power tools and sawdust and everything. And she said, I have a client here. Can you tell me what's going on? And I said, okay, over the phone. I see a woman. She's mid-50s. She's probably about 40 pounds overweight, red hair, freckles, and she's having an issue of diabetes that needs to be addressed. So it's basically a blood sugar imbalance, and that's one of the reasons she's not able to lose the weight. And so I'd have her look into pancreatic function. Okay, gotta go. Hang up the phone. And then
you could just see all that, not even seeing the woman. You could just see that. Wow. That's
well,
cool.
it's just what flooded into my head when I closed my eyes.
Wow, you're tapped into some higher consciousness, and who knows how it happens, but maybe some people out there also have abilities and they don't know how to talk about it. So, thank you all for sharing what you do to, maybe help others out there.
Well, and that's the thing is it's something that I've been open to my whole life, and that it happened and manifested the way it did was, again, still a miracle. It's something that I feel we all have to some extent. It's like, are we willing to listen to it and to go forward or run away from it? And I think that's something that we all need to choose in this life, because this is the time when everyone's here that everyone's been waiting for. We've been talking about the second coming of Christ for 2,000 years. We've been talking about the alignment of the planets. All the things are in play right now on this planet that everybody's been talking about, predicating, and it's here. We're here. We're the ones that, if we're not going to do this now, when is it ever going to happen? We're going to wait for another 28,000 years of the cycles of the planets, and Lord knows where we'll end up at that time. I probably won't be here in body, but it's the time that we recognize truly who we are, and that energy field, the oneness, God, Spirit, the I am that I am, that we have all been searching for. The awareness is here. We have A Course in Miracles. Many other great avatars and people have spoken about it. And it is available to everyone. And in my work in the Buddhist teachings, the particular practice is about helping heal self and others. It's not about sitting in a cave somewhere and meditating. That's not what it's about. It's about getting out in the world and helping heal the world, heal the food, heal the air, heal the person. And it just kind of all came together that's kind of a perfect blend of the work that I'm feeling drawn to do. So whether I'm working with someone halfway around the world doing energy work with them, or going through some of their issues and pulling out at the chakra levels or the history levels, it's all the different things that takes to work, because everyone's different. That my personal philosophy is, I don't care what helps heal someone as long as it helps, or at least they're getting some experience. Sometimes it's a nutritional supplement that a person can take that would be instrumental in changing their lives. In my lifetime, I've seen not one, but 3 different processes and products that have helped heal people's cancer. And without being metaphysical about it, something you buy, you ingest, and it changes everything. And I've seen other people do everything right and nothing worked. So sometimes
They're missing something, a
Something.
component somewhere. And your testimonials on your website are pretty impressive. Like, some of the people saying how you addressed each and every condition they had, and they're just like, their mind is blown. So for the people who are watching the show, how can they reach you if they want to try to get a scan and find out, whatever you see?
Well, the simple thing is to visit my website, which is thehumanmri.com. My email is also thehumanmri@gmail.com. I have a calendar on my website. I have other ways to reach me, again, the website. I have a new website portal on Facebook, The Human MRI, and people are more than welcome to stop by or send a note. I'm really easy to communicate. I don't have this staff between me and the individuals. When they call my phone, if I'm available to answer, I will answer. A simple email is best. And
he's good at getting back to you, when he can, but he's good about it.
the one thing I ask is, don't tell me anything about yourself. I just want to go, when I go into a session, I just want to go cold. I don't want to know.
See what you see.
See what I see, and that way I'm not premised. Again, having been a nurse, you can, if someone starts telling the issues, it tends to create a different mindset. But if I don't know anything about the person and I dive in and saying, this is what I'm seeing, and a lot of times we start the conversation like, oh, that doesn't sound right, that doesn't sound right. But by the time I've gone through the whole session, I've explained how it all worked out. They go, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, I was feeling that. Oh, yeah. And so people may not be aware of the root causes, because that's really what I see is the root cause. One woman we did a session with, and I said, I'm seeing in a past life that you were a Native American and that you did not want to have a child. You didn't feel that it was, you wanted to be the queen of the tribe, and a child would just throw everything off, whatever the situation was. And though that in trying to get rid of the child, doing the herbs, you ended up killing yourself in the process.
Whoa.
And so as we went through this talk and through the session, it all started, she started crying, and then everything kind of clicked in place. And then for the first time in 20 years, she started dropping weight like nobody's business. She'd had all this weight around her middle she just couldn't get rid of. So I'm getting goosebumps. That a few months later, she called me to let me know the weight had dropped off, but it was like that weight of an eternity also fell away.
That reminds me of that story. Kind of going off on a tangent, but remember that healing I did on Jennifer? Like, I had put, my gift is hands-on touch. Like, I can kind of see things and tune into people if my hands are on them and give them healing energy. And during one of my healing classes at Karen's school, there was a woman in pain, and I offered her, anything I could do to help. And as soon as I placed my hands on the area she had pain in her stomach, I had a download of a past life where she had died in childbirth during kind of the wagon times back in the day. Like, there's hardly any medical help, and if you have a problem in your pregnancy, well, it could kill you. And that's what happened with her. And she had all this pent up energy with that soul and that baby dying in her stomach, and her dying too. And as soon as I just brought awareness to that energy and that sight that I saw, it freed up some healing space in her. And she said for the first time after the healing, first time in her entire life, that she had one of the most pain-free periods, like hardly any problems or pain, like before she'd be doubled over excruciating pain. So there are weird links to past lives and past incarnations, past deaths. So that it just reminded me of that.
It is often just bringing light to a dark area, that single light in the tunnel that will begin to illuminate everything. And we are so much more than these physical bodies. And again, coming at this as I did in my lifetime, it's like, if you'd asked me this 10, 20 years ago, about all this past life, oh, whatever. But I now respect that it's all real, that what the sages have been saying over the thousands of years, and reincarnation exists, and it's like, it's all so true. And that you brought that light to that place at that time that she was ready to receive. And that's when it started unlocking all the doors and helped assist. In my own work, I found a lot of women through either having had an abortion or other type of miscarriage in this lifetime. Even if it was an unintended miscarriage, which is actually fairly common, it's still the stigma or the connection. And doing clearing work around that has been phenomenal. Just the shift of energy, of release, of it becomes a real blessing. And to be able to participate in that, kind of almost like a midwife, it's a great joy, because I get to be right there physically, emotionally, and spiritually with the individual, even if I'm not in the same room, to work through the process of what needs to be cleared. But again, we never know until we go into a session, and so much more.
And something I wanted to mention before we forget is you offer like a free abundance meditation.
Yes.
On your website. Now, how many people out there have trouble with abundance and money and finances and prosperity? Go to his website and listen to the free meditation on abundance, and let's see what it does for you. Get into a quiet space, pay attention, close your eyes, and, go with it. Just open your mind to the possibilities and let him do some healing work on you, It's free. You can't say no to that, or I'll smack you around myself. So, is there any other I want to know what that is that you have.
I have. It's a small picture of Master Yu, my Buddhist teacher who brought so much wisdom to the world, and he passed away about 4 years ago. That I actually saw him with his own 2 hands take an empty vessel, do a mantra over it, tap it 3 times, and able to start pouring water out of it. I also saw him heal a small child's deafness.
Magic. Alchemy, almost.
Well, no, this is lineage, where his master's master goes. This goes back 2,500 years to the Buddha, and so it was handed down generation. And the work that he brought to the West was not available except within the last 20 years. And they were doing some phenomenal work helping people heal, because this teachings that rather than be in a temple somewhere or being on a mountain and just meditate and just be quiet, that's Zen Buddhism. That's a whole nother deal. But this particular Buddhism is about healing oneself and healing others. Being warm when it's cold, being cold when it's warm, different teachings. And these things are all taught through the temple, which is now down in Long Beach, and other things that I teach, that as part of the work.
I've been to the temple, and you can feel it. At least I can. As soon as I walked in, it's a higher vibration place, a higher energy field. It's hard to describe unless you feel it yourself, but you can just tell it's an interesting place. Of healing. There's a lot of healing energy in there. I just think a higher vibration feels healing on your body. But I took the Medicine Buddha course, and it was pretty detailed and in-depth. And I know I experienced some healing within myself, but I still, to this day, with each of my healing sessions I do with clients, I still do the Buddhist chant of the healing bring in the healing Buddha.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah, so I take it seriously, and I bless my food the way they taught before I eat it. And I not only do I do the Buddhist blessing over my food, but I also pray. I think it's important to express gratitude for what you have. Express the food that you have food, that people contributed to farming it, transporting it, cooking it, serving it to you. express gratitude to the people who are, serving you. They're taking time out of their life and day to give you food and serve it to you and take care of you. So just, be grateful to people and send that energy out.
And that's the thing. The great thing about these teachings is they are empowering. And anyone can take the classes. Let me share with you a quick story, is that part of the process of teaching Medicine Buddha is that you can make food whole. And so I was driving down the road, and the guy in the back seat, we're on a road trip, opened up a bag of caramel corn. How cosmic is that? And he started eating the caramel corn. It was really stale. And he was complaining about, just give me the bag. So he hands me the bag. I'm driving the car, and I do the healing on the caramel corn while I'm driving down the freeway. I don't recommend this to everyone. And then I hand him back the bag, and then I said, try it now. And he goes, oh, wow, it's fresh.
Yeah.
And it was just that fast.
We did a thing on a cookie at the class, and you could tell the difference between before cookie and after cookie with the blessing that they did. It did something to the anatomy or DNA or the energy of the cookie. And the water. You can taste the difference. And
that's lineage. That's where I have the master, and he had his master's master, and going back for 1,000 years. So this is really old school. But in my own desire and dreams at some time, I'd love to have like a one-on-one with those beings, and they show up. They're here today. They're here in the room with us, assisting us and do the work. And even just those people that are watching this broadcast are receiving some form of healing.
I'm glad to have them here in the masters, and have a higher vibrational kind of a talk show today. It's pretty cool. We got to go to commercial, and when we come back, we are going to dive into Karen and hear a lot more deeper stuff about her, what she does, and humanmri.com, thehumanmri.com. So check Justin out, and we will be right back after this short commercial.
Everything holding up your side for the world to.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV. You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Hello and welcome back to the Street Angel Show here in the heart of Hollywood at T Radio V. Thanks for staying with us and watching the show. We're talking about epic healing work, and we're talking to two healers who have really some high depth abilities. And so now we talked to Justin Elledge in the last segment, and now we're gonna focus on Karen Fogarty. Hello. I'm so happy to have you. And so
Thank you.
Karen can really help you improve your confidence, self-worth, empowerment, remove energy blocks in your body, or at least help you be aware of them so you can remove them and clear them up. So let's hear about, what you offer to people, your sessions, or what you see, wherever you want to start.
Okay. I think the best way to start would be to talk about what I do with people, or what I like to bring to the table for people. And that's my information on the energetic mechanics that everybody has, that's consistent amongst everyone, whether you live in Alaska or you live in Africa. If you have a human body, there are certain energetic mechanics that are consistent. And so they have to do with being able to balance what I like to call 4 bodies. So it's about bringing your physical body into alignment with your emotional body, and bringing that into alignment with your mental body, and all of that into alignment with your spiritual body. But it actually all begins with the spiritual body. And I separate out the emotions from the body for a reason. Obviously, our emotions are part of the body, but the emotions are actually the language of the body. So that's how we talk to ourselves as spirit. And so if we separate the emotions out and kind of call it its own thing, so it has its own entity, you can actually do healing work on that and, in effect, clean out the communication between the physical body and the spiritual body. So all of that communication amongst every part of you will fall into alignment and into place.
I'd love to interject how those 4 bodies you just mentioned are related to the 4 elements, right? We got air and water, earth, and fire. And so it's correlated, and, getting alignment and balance. So, what would you say, like, where should people start with if they're curious about this?
Well, that's a great question. I think the first place for anybody to start is learning a little bit about who they are and their energy, so that they can start to distinguish the difference between what is their energy and what is somebody else's energy. For instance, it's really important to know the difference between your own energetic field and the person that, say, you're standing next to in a grocery line, so that you can have more awareness of what you're doing with your energy. Because I think some people might be thinking that they have all their energy in their body all the time, but they don't actually. Some of our spiritual energy was never designed to actually come into the body. So we can actually have our energy in different places. So I think a great beginning is to learn a little bit about your own energy and learn what it is, where it is, and how to actually get it back into your physical body, because we need our energy in our body to create or to receive anything.
Right.
So the more of it you get back into your body, the more you have, let's say, command over the things that you would like to do in your life, like the goals that you want to accomplish and the creations that you would like to make. So it's really important to learn about your energy.
And there's also being aware of people who are energy vampires or leech onto your energy, suck your life force out of you. And then there's another kind, but I don't remember what it is.
Well, mostly what I teach is for people to learn about themselves, but I'd say the main thing is that it leads to them being able to get out of pain. So that's the main thing that keeps people from being able to move forward in their lives. And pain is actually held in our, let's say, our personal space by actually one very tiny little point. So all pain is actually anchored to us by one point. And that point is actually, to a clairvoyant like myself who sees energy, you can actually go in and read that point of pain as if it were a picture, like a slide that you would get produced. And they can become illuminated in somebody's aura, so that you can actually see this like a photograph sitting in somebody's aura, and you can read all kinds of information about that person by looking at that photo. And so that photo can tell you what the state of mind of that person is, what kind of emotions are involved with that point. And
Sounds like a memory or something
it
that's
is.
triggering pain.
It is, because that's how we store our memory, is in pictures.
Okay.
So what I do is I work with people to teach them about this and also show them how easy it is to actually start to be able to release those. So some of these points are ones that make us feel good. So you wouldn't want to release something that's making you feel good. But the places where we're holding pain are the places where, when you can release that foreign energy that's on that point, then you can let go of that and bring in more of your own life force energy and heal yourself. So everybody has an amazing capacity to heal themselves. So I like to empower people with showing them how to start using their own information.
Now you have some free things on your website people can go
I
to start.
do.
And you also offer classes sometimes here in Los Angeles, California. So let's hear a little bit about that. And let's see your poster you got there. So in case people want to look this up.
Okay. I have a free ebook online now, and you can go to the website. Let's see. There it is.
UnleashYourUltimatePotential.com.
So my free ebook is called 7 Secrets to Unleash Your Ultimate Potential.
Nice.
And you can go download that. And I wanted to make it interactive, so there are 5 companion audios that go with it.
Oh,
So
okay.
that anybody can go and download the book for free and start using the meditation audios to learn more about their own spiritual energy, how to ground, how to release foreign energy, and how to replenish themselves.
That's really giving. She's offering free help there on her website. So you can't say no. We're offering free stuff to help you heal and learn and grow. And so, yeah, you can start there and contact. And what kind of sessions do you offer privately for people, if people want to, like, one-on-one?
My private sessions that are one-on-one are very comprehensive. I will take a look at that person and the scope of who they are and their history on the planet, and I will give them communication about their spiritual goals, why they took their body this lifetime, and what they're trying to create for themselves. And I'll also take a look at their past and see if any of their past lives are relevant to them in present time. I really love to focus on people's creative energy, because that's really what we all come here to do, is to create so that we can gather information. And so if somebody is having difficulty creating or utilizing their creative energy, I will take a look at that and talk to them about what's blocking that. So that energy block could be any number of things.
Yeah.
But when
A lot of it's childhood problems, like, because as kids we're so, susceptible to abuses and verbal criticism, and it goes right into our personality and of who we think we are. Like, for instance, when I was younger and going through my growth stage, I had a lot of acne, and I had boys I was like that I had crushes on tell me I was ugly, and sometimes in a very mean, like, you're effing ugly. Like, so that went into my identity. I always felt ugly. And so even when my looks changed as I got older, I still felt ugly. I still thought to myself, I am ugly. So that's what, I had a lot of problems with my self-worth. And as soon as, like, I started doing this healing work, it really wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles and was exposed to spirituality on this different level, other than a religious setting. It really helped blow open my chakras, blow apart blockages. I felt more healed and whole. And so I still feel like it's a process of healing. I'm still healing and still addressing things and working on stuff, especially actually the last couple years, like, new things that have happened to me. It's like I'm still healing and from that stuff. But it at least, as long as you learn these tools that these people can show you and teach you, you can work on healing yourself on a daily basis and changing your mindset. And that's really what, this show is aiming to expose you to, is you can help yourself. You just have to take the first step to go for it. So
I actually have a great story that ties in with that
Okay.
to demonstrate. I taught an online training just recently called Mastering Your Love Formula. And it was a course in which I was teaching the people how they could go in and listen to their own subconscious thoughts and locate what I hear as formulas, and any formulas that aren't working for them in the love department. And with that particular training, they each got a one-on-one private session with me so that I could go in and help them take one of those out. So I was working with a client recently, and the love formula that I actually heard in her subconscious was something that you would never really think of. It was love equals teasing. And by locating that and helping her take it out, it had a domino effect where it helped her release all these energies that were linked to love equals teasing, like shame, embarrassment, betrayal. And that actually went back not just to her childhood, this lifetime, but prior to this lifetime. So she brought that pain into the body with her. And by locating that and showing her how to remove that, she was able to replace it. And what she chose to replace it with was love equals freedom. So that means that that pain point, instead of pivoting off of it, if you have something in your subconscious that's telling you love equals teasing or love equals
Pain.
shame, then what's happening is that everything you try to create in the love department has to pivot around that pain picture. And so unconsciously, you may start attracting people to you that are like the puzzle piece for that formula. People that may very well tease you or elicit shame and embarrassment in you. So by taking it out and replacing it with something that's relevant and positive for the person in present time, it makes a huge difference. So I got to watch her release energy from her spiritual body, her mental body, emotions, and the physical body too, where she'd been holding it in her heart and her liver and her brain.
It's all about changing yourself. But first, most people just have to be made aware of it. There's so much subconscious that we're not aware of in our mind, our subconscious thoughts, and it's held in our body and our spirit. We can have all this pain and we don't even know where it's coming from or why. And so just having the awareness and having stuff brought to light is really what kickstarts a lot of the, the healing work. That it's like, oh, light bulb goes on. It's like, okay, so I have this issue, this problem, this pain, and now this is what I can do. It's really a lot about reprogramming your mind, because that's kind of where it starts, is the seed in the mind. You got to change that, and then it changes how your body responds to your mind. And then you feel better in your spirit and your soul and, the baggage you're carrying around, or, hopefully releasing. So, anything else you want to share? The book.
Yeah, well, I'll hold up the book. I was just going to say what I really like to do with people that come to me is make all of these, make this information as super simple as possible so that anybody can come and learn about themselves and learn simple meditations to feel better in, seriously, 20 minutes.
And that's great. Simple. That is like what I love about these people. And also they're so non-judgmental. It doesn't matter what kind of person you are, what your sexuality is. They don't care. They just want to help and heal, and that's what I really love about you too. So
thank you.
Thank you.
I brought a copy of a book that I helped co-author. Is that okay? And I wanted to offer to the first 5 people that email me. All you have to do is let me know that you saw me on the Street Angel Show, and I'm happy to ship this off to you. And it's full of really great stories from different authors about their personal expertise. And I have a story in here about the first time I saw somebody at gold.
Oh, cool. What do you mean by at gold?
Well, you'll have to read the book.
Okay.
But their
We'll
energy
see.
was at
Cool.
gold.
Okay, we have one more segment left after this commercial, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about like grounding yourself, and at least we're going to send you to a tool that help you do that. And we're going to maybe have Justin share something, or like an energy chant or something special he'd like to share. And then I have a story I'd like to share as well. So we will be right back after this commercial with our last segment to wrap up the show. And thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Street angel, called to heal these streets.
Okay, so it was my bad. We're actually pretty much done with the show. I wasn't unaware of the time. So we're just coming back to say bye and show everybody's websites one last time. And if you want to learn how to ground yourself, you can go to Karen's website, look up grounding and some of her videos. If you want a medical intuitive scan, go check out thehumanmri.com. And here's all my contact information if you'd like to look me up and ask me some questions or whatever. Is there any last thing you want to share really briefly?
I just wanted to say is that it is real. The energy that we talk about moving through us, the things that bind us back, though necessarily can't be seen under a camera, but maybe one day it will, is that recognizing it, acknowledging it, and releasing it is probably the greatest gift that we have through this process. And so whether it's in this lifetime or a past lifetime, it's all real.
Anything you'd like to share?
Just that everybody has great potential. And so my website is called Unleash Your Ultimate Potential. And I encourage anybody who's interested at all in learning a little bit about themselves and their energy to please come to my site or email me at Karen@KarenFogarty.com, and my name is spelled with an I. It's a Swedish spelling.
Yeah, Karin, right? Okay.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for watching the Street Angel Show today on healing. Next week is spring break, and we're not going to have a show, so I'll see you in 2 weeks from now, and I think it'll be about inspirational musicians with positive messages. So I think we'll be back later in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching, and this is the Street Angel Show and TRadioV.com Hollywood. Bye. Thank you.
See, if you're broken and
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.